when Matt, Scott, and I, and Randall started talking about doing this report to the donors, we thought we'd be lucky getting 80 to 100 of you here. So we topped out at 260 and started freaking out their staff about where everybody was going to sit. But welcome to your new Stephen Tanger Center for the Performing Arts. We are so excited about what we get to report back to you all and about the investment that you made to make something extremely successful and very special, not just for Greensboro, but for this entire region, and actually put it on the map in the entire country. When we were designing this, I can remember Matt, one of the early designs, and Kathy, you remember this, there was a staircase coming down the middle, and I think it was maybe Matt said, well, get rid of that staircase because the lobby won't be big enough. And so now you're sitting in one of the largest lobbies of a performing arts center in the entire country because we spread those staircases out and was able to do exactly what we wanted to do, have 250 people in this space for this kind of luncheon. So thank you all for the investment that you made in the center. I want to also begin with kind of welcoming our city council members who are such an important part of helping make this public-private partnership possible. So I'm going to ask Nancy and Mary Kay, Zach, Tammy, and I'm going to mess up by calling people's name out. Who am I missing? Nancy Hoffman's over here. Did I get everybody? Thank you all. And of course, I have to recognize my great friend and mentor and compatriot, Kathy Manning, our House of Representatives here up front. And are there any other elected leaders I'd like to recognize so I don't get in trouble by not saying and giving them a chance to stand up? Frankie, oh my gosh, glad you're in the back. Thank you for coming, Frankie. Well, as we began this process in 2012, while he's not an elected leader, I have to recognize former Mayor Robbie Perkins, because it was Robbie that had the courage to say, Walker, yes, we'll create a task force to explore building a Tanger Center in downtown. And so I want to recognize Robbie Perkins for his role that he played in this in the early days. And I'd be remiss if I didn't also recognize Louise Brady and Henry Fry, who co-chaired this task force that we created. It was a task force of 82 of our closest friends to really begin digging in deep of what would a new performing arts center be like in downtown Greensboro, and is there a demand for it? And so there was a lot of work, a lot of agony of going through that. Matt and I learned some new languages with each other through that whole process. But the result was tremendous, and there were two major outcomes that came out of that task force. The first outcome that came out of all that work that came out of the work and those countless meetings was it created a buy-in from the larger community of what we were trying to do. And that buy-in was in the process that we went through, the transparency in which the data was shared, how decisions were being made, and being able to kind of think through, yes, there's a demand for this. Yes, we think the shows will come here based on the promoters that we talk to. So now let's figure out the business model that needs to be done with this task force. And that buy-in that people had throughout that, as y'all remember in 2012, 2013, we lived on the front page of the newspaper. For many times, my staff and I felt like we had to call the newspaper every time we went to the bathroom just because they were being so transparent with everything. But it created the ownership that we were able to successfully raise more than $44 million from you all in this room to invest in this facility, more than 50% of the cost of this building. And also, it created a business model that we all kind of explored of what's the best business model, and one of the best decisions that came out of that whole discussion was to really make this a public-private partnership and utilize the expertise and skills of Matt Brown and his team to manage it as part of the city assets. And so, Matt, from all the donors, thank you and your team for your constant effort of doing all this. And as part of that business model was to put a memorandum of understanding in place and to put a board to kind of make sure the items of those memorandum adhere to. And I'm now proud to announce another good friend of mine, Randall Kaplan, who is the chair of that board, to share some comments with you.
Thanks, Walker, and welcome. It's great to see so many friends here. As Walker mentioned, I'm honored to be chairman of the board of the Tanger Center, which is a combination of donor representatives, city council representatives, and at-large representatives from the community. Would the other members of the Tanger board who are here with us today please stand, and I'd like to recognize them. I hope you will all agree that one of the not only is this an extraordinary facility, but when you come to at least when I come, and I think you'll agree with me, when we all come to the Tanger Center, it's an extraordinary experience, primarily because the team here that runs the Tanger Center, that works at the Tanger Center, are just fantastic. They're friendly, they're customer service oriented. They always make me feel welcome, and so I'd like to recognize many of the members of the team here. We have many departments represented here today, so instead of calling them out by name, I'm going to call them out by department, and if you would stand, and then at the end we'll applaud you. The booking department, box office, come on, stand up. Guest services. Are many of them upstairs? Okay. Marketing, production, operations, maintenance, and the business office. And they do an extraordinary job. Let's give all of them a big round of applause. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't have us also recognize the leadership of the Tanger Center, which I think starts, the excellence starts at the top with Scott Johnson and the Managing Director, Matt Brown. If you guys would stand and let us give you a round of applause. And of course, in order to get the appropriate update on how well the Tanger Center has done in the last 3 years, I want to bring up, our fearless leader and an extraordinary contributor to our community, Matt Brown.
Thank you very much, Randall. As I look out in the very recognition of two great community leaders, your parents, whose name is right above there, I look at, Toby and Leonard Kaplan, who fortunately recognized them, and Walker by naming the family theater after them. So we think of Toby and Leonard today, and thank you for all your contributions with them. But I also like to recognize your lovely wife, our Congresswoman, Kathy Manning, who championed this project. And I want to thank you both for your very generous contribution that each of you made, and for the hard work in making this Performing Arts Center a reality for our community. Thank you, Kathy, for your leadership. If I could take a moment of personal indulgence for me. I would not be here today without the love and support of my wife, Betty Ann Rossetti. In her own right, Betty Ann is a highly regarded licensed occupational therapist who sacrificed many professional and personal relationships to allow for our relocation to Greensboro. Betty Ann actually holds a U.S. patent as an inventor of a water safety floating device to allow handicapped children to receive aquatic therapy treatment. She also co-authored and published a book setting national teaching standards for school systems to follow in the treatment of children with learning disabilities. And for over 25 years, she provided the parents of over 1,000 disabled students that she cared for with the comfort of her 40 years of professional experience, the advice, counsel, and personal one-on-one treatment guidance that she provided for their children with developmental disabilities. So I want to recognize and thank her for having unwavering support to follow me and allow me this opportunity to move to Greensboro. In the end, it was Betty Ann's commitment and dedication to serving all the Guilford County children and their families during her work at the Gateway Education Center that has had a far more lasting impact than anything I accomplished here. Thank you. Love. And now all of us would not be here in Phillips Hall without the extraordinary generosity of each one of you as major donors to the Tanger Center. Your support and partnership with the City of Greensboro to structure a financial funding model that is not taxpayer supported allowed us to build this great new amenity for our community. Please enjoy this short video of what your contributions have resulted in over the first 3 years of the Tanger Center's extraordinary success. made that happen. And the keys to our success, our partnership with Nederlander and PFM for bringing that great Broadway programming, the support we've received from our Broadway season seat membership, which this morning is at 16,804 and moving towards the largest number we'll ever have in 3 years. All the diverse booking program that Scott Johnson and Jerry Duncan do, and the great support we get from you donors, from our sponsors, from the city and the CVB. We thank you, and that has resulted in these financial results for the first 3 years of the success of the Bryan. 3 consecutive years with revenues exceeding operating expense by over $1 million, and this year projected to reach $1.5 million. And we pay our way. We make an annual payment to our debt of $2.2 million that's paid out of that money. And your board is very conscious of maintaining this great asset for our community by establishing reserve funds. We've already set aside $500,000 to ensure that we never have an issue with meeting that debt payment. We've set aside $1.1 million in capital reserves to continually maintain this great facility, and even set aside over $600,000 for capital for our operating reserves as well. And now, looking ahead to our 4th exciting year with those 16,804 season ticket holders and probably getting us over 17,500, we look forward to the great new program for next year. Can we see that?
Direct from New York, it's the 4th season of First Bank Broadway at the Stephen Tanger Center for the Performing Arts. This thriller of a season features the hottest new shows from the Big Apple to your favorite classic stories. Featuring the greatest entertainer of all time in MJ. Go back in time with Back to the Future the Musical and the return of Hamilton. Plus, and Juliet, A Beautiful Noise, the Neil Diamond musical, Some Like It Hot, and Mamma Mia. Don't miss out on this thriller Broadway season. Season seats at firstbankbroadway.com.
Now, to assure you that our staff is always conscious of maintaining this facility, we've already identified a need to replace our carpeting. We've had over 1 million people attend events here in just the 3 seasons that we've had. So we're already planning on replacing the carpet and working with our board to allocate and assign the funding to accomplish that goal. So we are working on that. We are aware of it and working with designers and manufacturers to make sure we get the right color and install it where no disruption to our great schedule. So we're moving ahead with that. We also have identified a suggestion to relocate the Founders Room and the Donors Room and the President's Club to an area closer to where your seats are located and with double the number of restrooms. So we think that's an advantage that you would enjoy. And we've identified that, and we're looking forward to creating a new facility for you to enjoy as well. And we created an entrance that we would allow for you to enter separately from the other general public to get you into that facility and enjoy it. We've also proposed other improvements. Mike Perdue and I began thinking about a 3rd elevator before we were open, before construction was done. We knew we didn't have the capability of funding it then, but we needed the plan for it. And we've been doing that, and we've suggested a plan that would allow us to build the new 3rd elevator that would allow the production people to move in their equipment and not use our nice public elevators here in the Phillips Hall lobby. So we are working on that design that would allow us to bump out the East Gallery by 19 feet, creating more space and allowing for 2 levels to be built above that. That would allow us to build 8 new women's restrooms on the 2nd grand tier lobby. I see it, I count them. I count by an average, there's 8 people lined up there. It's the only place we have a line because, as Kathy designed, the largest women's restroom in America is right behind you. 44 stalls. 44. and it's duplicated on the third level as well. That would allow us to have some additional storage space for our housekeeping and our event prep. And the newest idea we have is on the third level, we'd build a new cooking kitchen that would allow us to have more creative, hotter food to our great level up on the third level, serving the Brady Suite, the Corey family room, and as well as the Langler Lee Lounge. So we would have a kitchen on the third floor closer to where people are actually dining. So we're looking forward to that improvement as well. To do that, we're being creative in terms of the funding options that we do have available, and I know that your board will be looking at all those options. You can see some of the designs that would allow us potentially to enclose the vestibule out here on Brenner Street that would allow for us to move all this security equipment outside of the main lobby of the Phillips Hall lobby to allow people more time to socially gather and enjoy food and beverage before they come in. We've even designed a canopy cover over the box office entrance to keep people out of the rain. These are the type of improvements we're planning for and preparing and identifying the potential funding sources that could be used, just to give you a sense of convenience and comfort that your staff is working to maintain this great asset for our community forever and ever. And we're going to constantly try and maintain it and improve it and keep it going. But we only have been able to do that through that partnership that you as donors matched up with the city and the CVB to be able to make that happen. So thank you for giving this gift to our city. Thank you.
As you can see, it's a blessing to have someone leading the Tanger Center and the Coliseum that wakes up every morning thinking about what can we do to make things better. Matt, thank you. I want to introduce, there's a key ingredient to the impressive financials that we saw, which is the extraordinary success of our First Bank Broadway series. And we have industry partners in Nederlander Organization and Professional Facilities Management, PFM. And I'd like to recognize two special guests who are here today representing our Broadway partners. Jack Meyer, if you would stand, Vice President of Programming for Nederlander, who brings us these great shows, and Lynn Singleton, President and CEO of PFM. I don't know about you, but when I look at the video of the last 3 years, first of all, it's hard to believe it's only been 3 years. I mean, you would think it's been more. The amount of world-class entertainment we've been able to enjoy has just been remarkable. As many of you know, the Tanger Center is currently transitioning, as well as the Coliseum is transitioning, to private management under the Oakview Group, which will take over management of the venue on July 1, as Matt is retiring, though virtually everyone that currently works at the Coliseum will be transitioning over into the Oakview groups and will be with us. As a member of the committee that evaluated this potential transition to private management, I was incredibly impressed with OVG's leadership, its capabilities, and its industry-wide reputation. And so I thought it would be most appropriate for us to invite OVG to come here and give all of our major donors insight into the organization and what we have, what is ahead for us. So please welcome our next speaker, OVG 360 co-chairman, Peter Luco.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's just special to be here. First of all, Mayor and City Council, we would like to thank you for entrusting us to manage all the facilities. We're very excited. Very rarely does a company get an opportunity to manage so many venues in one city. But today's Tanger Day, the Tanger Center, and to have the ability to sit through the board meeting, I think was extra special for Doug and myself today, just to look at the success and to see what you've all done here. As a staff, as donors, as a city, it's incredibly impressive. We manage some over 270 venues, and I was mentioning in the board meeting today, unfortunately many times we're entrusted to manage venues that have been left awry, that are distressed, that maybe aren't performing up to a certain standard, and how are we going to retool, reinvent, and build those facilities? Well, we're sitting today in one of the nicest venues of its type in the world. Not the US, but the world, and we manage all over the place. So if you look at our assignment here, it's one of the best assignments we'll ever have for a couple reasons. One being personal, back to working with Matt and Betty Ann. We literally worked some 40 years ago as we began our careers, and have remained such good friends over the years. And to see what Matt and Scott and the staff and the city and the board has built here is just incredible. And really, if you look at what our role is going to be here, it's going to be how do we work together to take this to the next level, right? Where do we go from here? The benchmark has been set. I mean, you look at those earnings, you know, these type of venues generally do not make money. Very few of these venues ever return money to the venue for capital expenditures to make them go to the next level and are self-sufficient. So the base has been set. So our charge is, okay, what do we do to take this to the next level and maintain the voice of this venue nationally and worldwide? And I think that's really our assignment. We're very fortunate to be not only throughout America, but throughout Europe and Asia. And how do we keep this venue on the map? How do we tell the world how special not only the venue is, but the city of Greensboro? And it is great. And one thing that we're seeing, if you look at where the population shift has happened in the United States post-COVID, during COVID, you're starting to see a movement to cities of this size, right? Cities where people can have a great quality of life, enjoy living there. But as you build these cities, you need to create that quality life, and that's what you have all done here, is to have a theater like this. And what's happened, and you can ask Jack and you can ask Lynn, we have seen these markets as emerging markets. They're markets that maybe didn't have a venue like this market, right? There wasn't anything here. You have a community that's been starved for entertainment. So what happens? Well, you sell tickets. That these shows are coming for the first time and people are beginning to enjoy them. So we're saying to ourselves, wow, we need to bring shows to Savannah. We need to bring shows to Lexington, Kentucky. We need to bring them to Knoxville, and we need to bring them to Greensboro. Now, obviously, Scott and Matt and staff have done a great job, again, working with Lynn and Jack and others to form a base. But I think what we're looking to do is how do we take it to the next level? Not only from more shows, but what other experiences, are there other premium experiences that we can make here? And how can we invest, right? As a company, you know, it's one thing to say we'll manage the venue, but how can we invest in the community along with you all and just add to what you have done? So we've had long discussions with Matt about how we can begin to make more of a financial commitment, not only here, but at the other venues in town. So thank you so much. It's so nice to have such a positive, enlightening future here, and to just be part of what you have all done. And just to say we're very humbled to be here. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Peter. You can tell why we're excited about this new partnership. It's my role now to introduce our mayor, Nancy Vaughn, to make a few remarks. But as she's coming to the podium, I wanted to take a little personal note. I mentioned Robbie Perkins initially for starting this effort, but it was Nancy's persistence and her leadership style that really kind of helped put this all together. Kathy and I spent countless mornings, lunches, nights, talking. We even talked, Kathy and I taught Nancy some language, Nancy taught us some language, but we hammered out an MOU that really helps govern this facility. And Nancy, thank you for your leadership in helping make that happen.
Thank you. It truly is my honor to be here to say thank you to every single person in this room for what you did and how you made this a reality. Without your financial contributions, believe me, we would not be sitting here today. We intended to open in March of 2020, and we know the world changed in March of 2020. And it took 531 days before we were finally able to open the doors to Tanger Center. And it has been nothing but a phenomenal success since then. One thing that we were very concerned about was that it would be a drain on the taxpayers. We didn't want it to fall on property taxes. So I know that there were a couple of financial models that came around, and the first one was the 1040 plan. And I mention this because I think Kathy, every time she saw me, wanted to go screaming in another direction. Because we started out with 1040, and it was at the city we would put in $40 million because that is what it was estimated that the War Memorial Coliseum was going to cost to overhaul. And the donors, if they could put together $10 million, that would help us buy the property that was here. And then, of course, we talked about it a little bit more, and then it became the 2020 plan. And it was like, Kathy, Walker, Louise, how about if you raise 20 million? You made 10 look so easy. You raise 20, we'll do 20 in user fees and then 20 in property tax. So they went ahead and they raised the 20 million. And then we came back and we said, you know what? How about if we do it 50-50? And so lo and behold, they raised over $40 million. And then the city put in $40 million. But still, it's not on the back of the taxpayers, because of that $40 million, half of that is a third of that is coming from the CVB, money that people spend in hotels and motels. So we're getting money from people who don't live here. And then another third of that is coming from parking revenue. So if you're parking to come and see a show, well, that helps us pay. If you're not coming, then you're not paying parking. And then lastly, the last third was the ticket fee. So there's $4 ticket fee on your taxes, on your ticket, and that goes to pay for this. So we were able to achieve this without doing it on the back of the taxpayers. And I think that is so incredibly important. But it was also important to us that people be able to come here that might not normally be able to afford to come to a place like this. And we really wanted to focus on the children of our community. And it wasn't just the children of Greensboro, it's the children of Guilford County. And it is great. I was able to sit here when the third graders, I think all third graders, went through and saw the symphony. And it was amazing to see almost, 3,000 third graders in this building at one time listening to the symphony. And the symphony had done such a great job because they did it to what third graders would like. They had audiovisual stuff, they played songs that they listened to. It was really interactive. And I think these kids came away looking at symphony and orchestra in a very different way. And then sometimes if you're downtown, it's really hard to get around during the days when there are Broadway shows, because there are so many Guilford County buses and buses from otherwheres of kids coming to see the plays that we have. You know, it's not often that you can look back at a facility and think that we did everything we promised we would do. This building delivered on every promise that we made. And it would not have been possible without you. So I hope when you walk in this building that you are so proud of what you have brought to the city of Greensboro and Guilford County. Without you, this would not have been possible. And from the bottom of my heart, I say thank you. Thank you. And Matt, I know that you and your staff are the driving force behind this building. And I hope that when you drive by the building, you feel the same sense of pride that I and others do, knowing that this will be here for generations to come. And so many people will be able to enjoy a type of entertainment that we did not have, and in a first-rate building. So once again, thank you. It is my pleasure to be here today.
Thank you, Mayor Vaughn. And in closing, there are a couple of people I also want to continue to thank, and that is our staff that's sitting here, down here in the front, for all the behind-the-scenes work. And I'm going to include in our staff, thank you, Effie Veritamites and Ross Harris and Gordon Sinkson, who are also part of this process. So if you all will help me thank them for all that they've done. And to thank our board of directors. A lot of people don't realize that it was our board that allowed us, our staff, to go out and do these, but they also had the courage to write a check. Sorry, Nancy, it was $42.3 million, not 40. Just to write a check to the city to finance the construction of this, and then go out and work with our partners at Pinnacle to help put the loan in place to make this building happen. So I really want to thank our board of directors for doing that. The last thing is a special presentation. In that special presentation, I'd like to ask Randall Kaplan and Kathy Manning to come back up to the podium.
Well, as has been mentioned, Matt is going to be retiring at the end of the month. And he's really been the driving force, not just of the Tanger Center, but of much of the Coliseum, the Natatorium, and much of the, I think it was mentioned before that what's important for the growth of a community is building the fabric of the community, and Matt has certainly been our master weaver at weaving that fabric here in Greensboro. I mean, if you think about the quality of life here, the kind of events, and not just here at the Tanger Center, but being all of the sporting events and concerts and everything else that really makes this a special place, it's due to Matt. So I want to say thank you personally, but I also want to introduce our Congresswoman from the 6th District, who has blessed us by coming here today, and who I'm a little biased, I think is the best Congresswoman that we've ever had. But I've asked her to come and make a few remarks.
Thank you, Randall. And Matt and I just agreed, we hate the word retire. We're going to call it rewire. We're rewiring the way we're going to help this community going forward. And as I look out at all of you and am standing in this magnificent building, I just have to comment on the power of a first-class performing arts center to bring a community together. And it's extraordinary because we've seen the power of this building to bring everyone from all across the community together to see extraordinary performances. And I was remarking that my favorite thing to do at the end of a show is go stand up front and turn around and look all the way to the back and see all those people standing up cheering who just had the most spectacular time. And I knew all of you would be here, but what I really love is to see people I don't even know who come here, spend good money, and just have a remarkable time in this facility that we as a community were able to imagine and then bring to fruition. I have lived and worked in this community for more than 36 years, and I've worked in the business sector, in the nonprofit sector, and now I'm really honored to work as your representative in the U.S. House of Representatives. And I've gotten to know so many wonderful people who contribute to making this community the great place it is. But I don't know anyone who has done more to make our community great, to strengthen our economy or improve our quality of life than Matt Brown. And you all know everything that Matt has done for the Coliseum, for the Natatorium, for the amphitheater, all of his efforts to bring in the best athletic events, the most extraordinary concerts, and to make all of our visitors from within our community and from outside of our community feel welcome and feel like they have attended a first-class venue. But to me, Matt's crowning achievement is the building that we're sitting in. Simply put, we would not have the Tanger Center if it were not for Matt Brown. And I know that because I had the privilege of working with Matt day in and day out on this incredible project, almost from the very start. And I have to confess that Matt and I didn't always see eye to eye on this project. We really just disagreed on 4 minor issues: location, size, design, and decor. But we met, we talked, we ate lunch together, we worked through our issues, and here's what I learned about Matt Brown. First, Matt is a great listener. He is willing to give in when your arguments are persuasive, but he holds his ground when he believes that his position is the very best for the project and ultimately for our community. Second, Matt is both visionary and strategic. He is smart, he's detail-oriented, and no one, I mean no one, works harder than Matt. He used to bring to our design meetings this 2-inch thick budget book, and he knew every line on every page. We spent about a year trying to cut, I don't know, $20 million out of the project, and he held everybody accountable, no matter what part of the project they came from, because he knew what all those budget numbers were. Third, Matt is the most tenacious negotiator I have ever seen. And he has the ability to string together colorful language in a way that is both unique and amusing. Amusing if you are not the receiver of that language. Fourth, Matt is pragmatic, and he always wants to do what is best for our community, always. And Matt, for that reason, I had an American flag flown over the U.S. Capitol in your honor to acknowledge your leadership, your vision, your hard work, your remarkable dedication to our community. You have made your mark on this community. We are all better for knowing you. Our community is better that you chose to live here, and for that, I am truly grateful. This flag was not flown on January 6th, to answer Matt's question. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming. It was a great day and a great building. Have a wonderful afternoon and more great things to come. Thank you all.